Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at Riderflex. We hope you enjoy today's podcast. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the Riderflex show for updates on new episodes. And by the way, if you haven't already, check out the book we recently launched, The Riderflex Guide, Inspiring and Hiring, available for purchase on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Travis Knipe back on the Riderflex podcast from StarRez. How are you, sir?
Yes, doing very well, thanks. It's great to be back. There's been a lot of changes going on for the last couple of years since we talked last. So it's great to reconnect.
For sure. Where are you today, man? I know you're all around, like Denver, Australia, Austin. I don't know. Where are you today?
You know, I love to be a global citizen. And whilst that global citizen status was suspended a little bit when travel was a bit more limited, which wasn't what I was used to, but I'm happy to say that I'm roaming the globe again. Today, you find me back in Melbourne, Australia, which is where one of our main headquarters is, but I've spent a lot of time out in Denver over the last 3 to 4 months and traveling around. So it's been a busy, active time.
Now in Melbourne this time of year, what's the weather? I'm sorry, I'm ignorant to the Australia weather. Is it spring? What's it doing there?
We've still got a bit of summer at the moment. So yeah, the weather's now weather in Melbourne. You can get many seasons in one day. So you might get a little summer, a little rain, and everything in between. So our weather's a little unpredictable here.
Does it ever get cold?
Look, it's more, think about California cold, not quite Denver, Colorado cold.
Okay.
So it's very manageable.
And that's where most of your family is, right? Because your folks were from there, right? So you got a lot of family down in Australia.
Yeah, we do. So our family network's here. We've got 2 boys that go to school here. So they travel with us on all the school holidays and a few other trips outside of that. So they're regulars to the US and to the UK when we're there. And then of course I do quite a few solo trips in between. We do have a second home and residence over in Denver. So we've got our home away from home when we're traveling as well.
How old are your boys now?
Growing up fast. One's about to turn 8 and the other one is 10. And I'm a very hands-on dad, so very involved in a lot of their activities and just love, doing as much as I can with the boys.
Now, when you're gone, do they test mom a little bit? Do they push and see like, oh, dad's not here? What can I get away with a little bit? Any of that going on?
There's definitely a lot of that going on. There's definitely some more flexibility around the house rules when I'm on the road. No, look, they're amazing kids and they give us so much joy and fulfillment. We just, as I said, one of the things that is a little bit different to probably the style I've had, and maybe, I've been a bit luckier. My dad, worked a lot. And so the only time I got to see him was primarily at work. He wasn't available due to work commitments to be involved in a lot of my sports and, extra activities.
Mm-hmm.
That was my mum who was the main driver there. And so I've really tried to, balance my life and my career by still lots of time to work and get that done, but also make sure I'm a really present and available dad, when I'm home as well.
So important, really so important. When I tell stories about my own father, his work ethic was great and I really respect that. But do I wish, he had been more part of my life and come to my games and my activities and spent more time with me outside of work? Yeah, I do. Like I would trade that, right? Like, I don't take any respect away from him for the work ethic, but yeah, he just worked all the time. I mean, yeah, I think I remember him coming to like one activity I had in my whole childhood, and so I think that's it's really important as much as you can do it. And for you, for somebody who travels a lot, I know that's got to be tough. So you're probably, when you look at your calendar, are you like, okay, this activity's, I got to be home this week because I know this is going on, right?
Yeah, it's tough, and look, I feel you with your dad. I think back, the same. I think it was also a different generational time, and
Yeah.
expectations were a bit
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
And I like now that we've evolved a lot in the way we think about that. And to me, I'm happy to get up. I'm an early bird. I'm happy to get up as early as I need to get everything done, and then still have that time to go to the game at night. So look, I still have those tough trade-offs. Recently, I was on a trip and I missed, one of my son's basketball finals, and that was a really tough thing to be away from. And sometimes you have those compromises, but I just make sure that when I'm around, and if there are milestones, that I try to make sure that I commit to those, and you do your best to kind of balance it
Yeah.
out and keep everything moving.
Speaking of balancing, I know you're a very health conscious guy. Yeah, you look like you're still in great shape, like you were last time. You still hitting the gym? You still trying to do your cardio, your weights? What's going on with your health routine?
Yeah, so look, as you know, I think a big part of, and in fact, I think it was another thing. Unfortunately, my dad, probably we lost him almost 10 years ago, and I wished he probably had a bit more time to focus on his health, and that was definitely a catalyst for me getting in better shape and wanting to be around, as long as I can be for my kids. So last year, I have to be honest, when we went through the transition to investment with Vista and doing acquisitions, I had to really step it up on the work front, and my fitness was the one thing that
Yeah.
fell away a little bit. Now I've stayed in the game, so I still managed to get a marathon in late last year. I did the New York Marathon, which was a great
Cool.
experience.
Cool.
I struggled with it, but I got through it. And I'm really trying to prioritize a bit more time for the fitness, which, as you know, I'm always listening to podcasts and books and things like that while I'm training. So I find it helps me be a better CEO as well.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you feel good, if you just feel good about your, if you're healthy and your mental state is refreshed and sharp, which it usually is if you do a little exercise, you just feel better. You do a better job as a CEO. Diet wise, I'm just curious. Are you like super strict? Are you just kind of watch it? You're careful, or are you on a regiment? I'm just curious because I've recently started something I'll share with you, but I'm curious about yourself.
Yeah, look, I go through waves like everyone. I think I'm pretty good at trying to eat reasonably.
Okay.
I try to stick to fish and steak and salad and veggies kind of when I'm on the road in particular, and eat reasonably clean. My biggest weakness is I've got a sweet tooth, so I do love my ice cream and my sweets and lollies and candy. So at times I have to back that off, or the pounds and kilos can climb up a little bit more than you want.
Over the holidays, I finally hit 200, which I've never been at before. I'm 5'11", and that was 200 is the heaviest I've ever been. I was in we were out we were further east in Missouri seeing some family for Christmas, and I'm standing there in front of the mirror at this little cabin we rented for Christmas, and I'm looking at myself. I'm like, okay, all right, I gotta I gotta do something a little bit different. I cut out so what I really cut back was the chips, the bread, beer, and bad coffee creamer. Just those simple things, right? Not a long list. Just try to really cut back on
Yeah.
bread, beer, chips, and coffee creamer. Man, just cutting those out was amazing. you know, so it doesn't take a lot. Just you got to be conscious, right? You got to be a little bit careful, and you can do it. For any of the listeners out there, you don't have to be on no super strict diet. Just be careful. Do a little exercise, right?
Yeah, no, look, I totally agree with you, and well done on that. Now, they're also the most tempting things that we all love to have, so they're the hard ones to eliminate. But I think you're right, and they're definitely the ones that I have to avoid myself as well. As much as I love all of those, I have to put them on the back burner and try to prioritize eating a little bit cleaner than that. But yeah, look. I just try to not do any crazy, diets, just eat reasonably sensibly,
Yeah.
still enjoy some sweets and cakes and whatnot when I want. And then, the fitness part is the big part. I really try to keep that up most days.
And, I think I do the fitness part more for the psychological effect than anything, quite honestly, because I just feel better. If I'll just get up in the morning and just do a little extra, 30, 45 minutes of some stuff, it doesn't have to be anything super major, right? I'm not like trying to be a bodybuilder or something, but man, if I will just do that, then my mind is fresher. Plus, I'm usually kind of meditating a little bit, right? Like if I'm on the treadmill or whatever, I'm thinking about things, I'll come up with ideas. So I just feel better. And for any aspiring CEO out there or entrepreneurial founder, working 80 hours a week and not taking time for your family and not taking time for your body is a bad idea. It will eventually catch up with you.
Yeah, and not only that, I do think you limit your problem-solving ability. I seriously think, to your point, some of the best ways I've come up with an idea or a way to solve something or a way to tackle something differently is because I went out for a run and, I had a change of environment, or I was at my kids' basketball game and, finally it hits you, maybe you can try something different. And I think if you just, stay on the laptop and stay on Zoom all day, you're kind of on that Zoom treadmill, and it's very hard sometimes to think things through differently. So I do think that there's the balance actually makes you more efficient and more effective.
No doubt. My team actually probably hates it when I go to the mountains camping for the weekend, because I always come back that Monday with like 5 new ideas.
Exactly.
Because my brain has a chance to get creative. Well, give us the StarRez update a little bit. And as a matter of fact, you might want to just give the listeners, first of all, I might want to give the listeners kind of an overview on StarRez one more time, and then kind of an update from the last time we were on. It is StarRez, R-E-Z, StarRez.com. Tell us about StarRez and then give us an update, Travis, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So if you wind back the clock to 2021, we're still a private family business. We're around 30 years in business at that time. We had never taken outside investment or funding or debt or the like. So we built the business organically over a long period of time. We were having great experience. We were still the market leader. We've grown into, around 20 countries. We're sitting at about 2 million beds. And, as a reminder, StarRez is, think of it as a prop tech booking platform that specializes primarily in student accommodation, student housing. So a lot of our customers are universities and colleges all around the world that manage that, on-campus residential experience. But it's also a solution that's used outside of that setting. So we have things like staff housing, where we look after the staff that live at ski resorts and theme parks. So it's a property tech solution that fits into a number of different sort of markets. Now, we had been just growing organically and built the team up. So at that time we're around 170 people. We kind of reached a point where we felt like it was time to make a change. And I think one of the funny things we spoke about was my thoughts around not raising capital too early or spending too much time on it. Now I've seen the other side of it, how capital can help accelerate things. But I still think my philosophy around that remains true, in the sense that I still see it today where if you do raise some capital to get things going, you really want to quickly focus on product market fit, happy customers, retention of those customers, and getting a profitable business. So that you can really stand on your own 2 feet and continue to invest in the product, instead of investing your time having to do the next round of fundraising. So I still see this pattern where not enough time and focus is on product and customers, and too much time is focused on the capital raising piece, because it's so easy to burn money. I think they just get into a cycle where that's what they feel like is the right thing to do. Now, along the way, you're diluting yourself. As I said, you're not focused on the product. So now, on the flip side, I think definitely capital with the right partner, can accelerate things. And that's certainly what I've experienced now over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. So we ran a process, and I learned a lot about how to run a process, what kind of things we were prepared for as a company, and things that we were lacking as a business, and then being able to bring on a really sophisticated world-class investor like Vista Equity Partners, which is just a fantastic outcome for us. I've really seen how it is to work with a great partner like that. So it's been a great experience for us. I know everyone, was a little scared when we announced that investment from Vista, because people were worried about what would change. But honestly, it's exceeded our expectations in every capacity.
It's Vista Equity Partners, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you share how much you raised with them, or is that private, or did you make an announcement about it?
It's private in terms of the numbers, but we have them on as a significant equity holder of the business. I remain a substantial equity holder of the business as well, and I'm the in-seat operating CEO. So it's still very much a partnership. We've got Vista has a number of board seats, so together we form the board of directors. We have some great external directors, board members, that we've just brought on, that we'll be announcing publicly soon. Okay. So we really, operate the business kind of together as a board. They kind of help work with me on, resources, strategy, that sort of thing. And then I'm in the business with the leadership team executing on that.
Can I ask this? I don't know if you can share this or not. This is a pretty direct question. Does the family still have voting control, or can the PE firm outvote you if the shit ever hit the fan? That's what I'm curious about.
No, we do not have majority investment in the business anymore.
Okay.
And I'm the only remaining family member that has equity in the company. So that is definitely a change. But as I said, I think which worried me, in terms of would we still have autonomy, and would we still be able to, have good input about product direction and things like that? Now, I think it might be different depending on the firm that you have behind you and the partnership that you have. Our experience has been fantastic. So, I still, feel very empowered to lead the company, to lead the product vision. What I like right now is I've just got a lot more smart, capable people in my corner that are helping me think it through and helping support us every step of the way.
This is such an interesting topic. We could probably talk for 4 hours on it. It can be hard for a long-term family business, especially somebody in your shoes, second generation, kind of, really, a little bit, right? To one day wake up and go, I'm still a CEO, but really, I'm not in complete control anymore. Like right now, I got an answer to a board, and I got people asking me, why'd you spend money on this? Why'd you spend money on that? I mean, that is a scary thought for a lot of people that have started a company. I'm sure that you and your family and your wife, you must have had many, many, many countless nights going, man, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? Did you try to cut a deal at first not to lose control? You probably did. I would have.
No, look, to be honest with you, I think we were really comfortable with the commercial side of it. And I think as a family as well, part of it is, being able to take some of that, we had everything tied up in the business. And so being able to take some of that off the table now, which allows us to be able to do some investments outside of StarRez. Being able to follow some of our passions, around property investment, which we love and we wanted to be able to do more with, being able to be more charitable. So we've been able to set up a family foundation fund where we've been able to, get involved and support some charities and some causes that we're really passionate about. But meanwhile, still having significant, stake in StarRez and obviously being passionate to own and run it. I think back to your point, yes, it's agonizing to think about whether you should make these decisions and what does this mean long term. And, obviously there's family legacy, that you think about. I think the way I came to terms with it is I felt like not doing it was probably more of a risk and more of a compromise than doing it.
Okay.
Because I just think the amount of investment you need to have in technology companies, we just could not keep pace with as a private business.
I see.
And I think the expertise that we needed to bring on board to help us, we could never have gathered that expertise on our own. And so the way I thought of it is, this is actually one of the ways we can cement StarRez as a great long-term, platform company versus, it compromising what we can do with StarRez. So I really kind of thought about it from every different angle, and you scrutinize and agonize over it. You don't know exactly when you run this process what the outcome is going to be. I care a lot about the team that I've got, and a lot of my team being with me for a long time, 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yes.
Some excess of 20 years. So I really wanted to make sure that, their careers and livelihoods were going to be, considered. Now, the good news is, that process enabled us to actually be able to share some of the success, around with the team, to be able to,
Good.
And be able to create, one of the great things when you've got this new structure is you've got things like management equity pool and long-term incentive plans and, different, instruments that I didn't have available to me as a private business, the way we were structured previously. So it's ended up being a great outcome for, a lot of the leadership team. And, so I feel like, Steve, one of the things I try to look at is, are there any losers from this, or are they all winners? And the way I looked at it is, well, if we're getting the outcome that we're looking for as a family, if our customers ultimately going to now have an even bigger investment in terms of product engineering, cybersecurity, compliance, so they're going to end up with a better product and better service. If our team will end up with more career opportunities, more professional development, better compensation, which they have, essentially everyone's been able to win out of this, and we've been able to bring it all together. So I don't feel like, and ultimately Vista as the investor, I think is winning as well, because they found a great company that they're passionate about. It meets their investment thesis, will of course help drive some great value creation for their investors. So again, I think everyone is coming out of this, in a really good position.
Now, it's a PE firm, right? Not VC, right? I think you
Correct.
said. And most people listening to this show, most people probably understand that PE firms generally, not all the time, invest in something like this for a 3 to 5 year run before they get their money back and flip it or sell it, so to speak. And I'm guessing people on your team probably understand that a little bit too. So does that make your team nervous? Are they like, okay, well, this is going to be a short run, because as soon as Vista can flip this thing in 4 years, they're going to sell us again. Was that a conversation? Have you people been nervous about that?
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest fears that everyone has. Firstly, they think a lot's going to change in year one. The main thing that changed for us was us, of course, learning that the private equity firms have a different language that they speak. And, we were pretty naive to that. So, there's a lot of acronyms and a lot of new, sort of software and investment language that we had to ramp up on. And now that's become second nature at StarRez. So there was that piece. We have Vista. One of the things I love about them is they have a consulting practice that we engage on a regular basis to come and help. They've got best practices they've developed over 20 plus years that they help bring to the table. But again, I think people worry about, what is this like, having some consultants come in and spend time with different parts of our business. Once they realize that those consultants are just really invested in our success and they are an extension of our team, I think people totally changed their guarded mindset and embraced it. But I think, for us, once people have seen that, also the investments we're making, Steve, are more long-term investments. So, there's a lot of firms out there that definitely do financial engineering, and they want to come in and they want to see where they can cut costs and reduce things. The reality is we've never invested more in our business than we have in the last 12 months. And so when people see that we're making investments in things like, upgrading our, finance system, and upgrading our, all of our systems internally, and upgrading our security compliance. So once people see those investments, they realize that those things are really foundational things that will actually help StarRez over a 10, 20-year time span. They're not just something that will help us for 3 years. I think people realize, you know what, they're actually here to build a better business. They're here to build a better experience. And whether it's, ultimately them that is invested long term, or it's, some other, investor, I think they can see the trajectory of StarRez is it's a better company with stronger foundations and more opportunity to scale and grow. So I think people have kind of changed if they had any concerns or reservations, I think that we've been able to address those pretty quickly.
What about culture, Travis? You guys, and you personally and your company, have done a really nice job of building a positive culture. At least that's what it looks like, from a distance, right? Social media. I mean, reviews and everything from Glassdoor to online presence to postings that you do. I mean, I think company culture and people enjoying working there and enjoying working with you is a big deal. At least that's what it looks like from a distance. I'm sure that made people a little bit nervous, like, oh, what about our culture? What about our atmosphere? You probably had to address that a little bit in some ways.
Yeah, look, culture is absolutely, one of our sort of key ingredients here at StarRez. I think I've shared before that our culture is a little bit different than, again, early stage software companies, where they often get in a room and they think about them, they write them down, and then they try and live them. We lived ours for a long time before we finally wrote them down, and then realized, oh, this is actually our DNA. We need to, celebrate this and foster this. Yeah. So one of the things that I think is very important when you go through that process of finding an investor is they have to believe in your culture. And I really love that the Vista board truly understands that we've got something special here about StarRez culture. It is a little bit different to, corporate IT, software companies. And they've been fully supportive about, us continuing to make investments in the things that make our culture strong and rich. So there's been no questioning about, like for us, the holiday parties is an annual tradition. It's a must-have for us, and we want to bring everyone together. And that's a big investment, but there's been no discussion about, should we cut back on that one because, that would be a great cost saving. It's like, we understand that this is part of the formula StarRez has for engaging their team and bringing them together. And, it's not even a discussion point, which I love. So I think we've done a really good job of trying to preserve our culture. Now, I think the thing that has tested our culture more than, say, a PE firm coming in is being a couple of things. One, the acceleration of our growth is faster than ever. So we've grown from, about 170 people to almost 300 people in just over 12 months. Yeah, that's an incredible amount of, change and growth in terms of the team. Mm-hmm. And we've also done 2 acquisitions where we've brought on, so as part of that, circa 100-ish growth in people, there was about 40 people that came through, 2 acquisitions. Mm-hmm. And they had similar cultures, but different cultures. And, again, they were used to working with smaller teams, not large teams. So I think a lot of our work on culture has been around trying to make sure that we smooth out the bumps between those changes. So making sure that we improve our onboarding experience, because we can't, when you're doing it at scale, I've never seen this before in my life at StarRez, but, there were weeks where we had 10 new people starting in 1 week. We never dealt with that before. We maybe had 2 or 3 starting a week at the maximum. So what you realize is you really got to work a lot harder in getting your onboarding experience built out, making sure that, your culture is well documented. So those things are really important to us. With our new team members that came across from the acquisitions, we had to work really hard to make them feel like they're part of, one larger family, and get rid of the kind of us and them, yes, mindset that kind of comes at the start. And we did some things like, bringing the teams together for meetings. And, I flew out straight away to meet the teams when they joined. And so, we tried to do things to help, smooth that out and bring those cultures together. But look, I'm really happy to say that StarRez culture remains intact. And, you have to fight for it. You really have to work hard to celebrate it and foster it and make sure that it doesn't get away from you as you grow.
Boy, you did. So the acquisitions, did those come after you raised the cash and then you had the cash to do those, or were they at the same time? What was the timeline for that?
They were very fast, so we moved pretty quickly. So right after we closed our investment, we had the first acquisition basically completed within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So that one was really fast, and was just a great fit for us, and a great outcome for everyone. And within it was within about the first 6 months, we completed the second one. So it was pretty early on. So we were going through a lot of change ourselves. And then we were also helping, bring two kind of new families together into one.
That is a lot to manage. You got a brand new board to manage, brand new PE firm, you have organic growth along with that, plus acquisitions. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot, my friend.
It was a lot too. We were also hiring a number of our leadership team at the time too, and onboarding those. So we had a lot of change in the leadership team. We had, the great thing that came through that period though was a lot of career growth for a lot of our team, Steve. So, one of the best things about being able to grow the organization is you create extra, layers, in terms of opportunities. So we had, I don't have the exact stat, I should, but I would guess that, it was between 30 to 50 promotions last year, just upwards in terms of, moving to a team lead or moving to a vice president or, anywhere in between. So we had quite a bit of career growth that the team were excited about.
Yeah, that's always awesome to be able to have people that have been with you for years continue to grow in their responsibility. It's a wonderful thing, right? To have somebody 12 years ago, they started with you and they were a junior level person and now they're a VP or whatever. That is a very special moment for entrepreneurs and CEOs. For anybody listening out there, when you develop somebody's career and you see them grow and they have supported their families or they put kids through school or they bought a new home or whatever, that's a wonderful thing. It has been for me. It means sometimes that means more to me than anything. We just had our annual leadership team meeting for Riderflex in Denver, and we're down there, and a couple of people in the room that I'm sitting there, I'm looking at them, I'm like, man, 7 years ago, this person was like, doing social media posts, and now they're like running full-blown operations, as like a VP, and I'm like, wow, this is so great. I enjoy that. It's very emotional for me, and it's very rewarding, I think, more than the money, I think, for a lot of us.
Look, I totally agree. There's nothing more fulfilling than seeing your team, continue to grow and prosper. And again, I look at that prosperity in terms of, them being able to pursue their personal hobbies, their family life, travel, whatever it might mean to different individuals. I absolutely love that. And, we've got so many success stories with people that we've hired, essentially right out of college, that have stayed on this great journey with us. And again, I feel like had we not been able to go through that investment and accelerate growth, I think there was definitely a risk we would have lost some of those last year because there was just so much opportunity for people in the tech space. And, I think it was just, good timing for us that we could offer, a lot of the team, new opportunities here at StarRez.
What do you think the opportunities are for continued growth? Are you looking at more acquisitions, or are you looking to push your technology into other revenue streams, or both? What are you looking at for the future?
All of the above. Steve, I'm always told I need to get better at ruthless prioritization. And I love the concept of it, but I also love trying to do what's impossible and push the limits. So look, I think the great thing with StarRez is we've got really strong organic growth ahead of us that we're focused on. We're really focused on supporting the the communities that we acquired last year as well. So we took the StarRez family from 2 million beds to over 3 million beds in a 12-month period. So it gives us, what's great about that is it gives us a lot of scale and a lot of conviction to make big investments in cybersecurity, product innovation. So there's a lot more coming through the product roadmap and coming out to our community through the product investments. But on the other hand, we still feel really excited about growing through acquisitions. We're really thinking through what that means for StarRez. You can end up, I think, getting too excited and chasing down the wrong opportunities. And we because we are a platform company that has incredible global scale, we get a lot of interesting activity coming to us. But I think we're trying to be really thoughtful about what is truly the acquisitions that is going to add value for our customers or add value for our company and team. So I think we're spending some pretty serious time right now thinking that through. So we're not active right at this moment, looking at our next acquisition. We want to make sure the foundations of StarRez are stronger. So we're implementing, some systems upgrades, some new leadership team we're onboarding. Once we get out the other side of that, which won't take too long, we're already, midstream with a lot of that work. I think we'll be active again and starting to really think through what will make the most sense to add. I personally would love to see some great new technology that we might want to bring into StarRez that we can kind of bolt on to what we're doing and expand that out to all of our customers. I'd love to see that we can do something like that.
Are you doing anything with, I know you're doing some resort stuff. Are you doing anything with major hotel chains? Are you doing anything with cruise lines? Are you doing anything with VRBO or any of that stuff? Or have you ever looked at any of those?
A little bit, yeah. Look, the hotel space is very specialized and has a lot of, incumbent sort of players in that space. So we don't feel like that's necessarily a great fit for us. Okay. Where we feel like there's really great adjacencies for us is, we're doing more and more with the purpose-built student accommodation, the property managers that look after the on-campus, off-campus experience. We're continuing to grow with that staff housing piece that we mentioned before. So, the Vail Ski Resorts type operations. We're also doing more with build to rent, which is an interesting intersection of, kind of multifamily meets purpose-built student accommodation. So build to rent is, especially a big emerging market in places like EMEA and APAC. And there's a flavor of it in the Americas as well. So we're doing more and more supporting that because fundamentally, the way we look at it is if there are property managers, property developers that look at their community as more than just we need to sign people up to a lease and move them in and move them out. If they actually want to think about the resident experience, resident wellness, resident mental health, the engagement of those, and all the services and amenities that wrap around that, we're a great fit for that. We love to talk about thriving residential communities. Because we span all those different pieces, what we find is the property managers that really want to offer that true resident experience and make sure that they can do all the engagement and offer, activities and events that they can attend, that's a really great fit for StarRez. And so there's a lot of possibilities for us, in the long term as to, what other markets we might want to take StarRez to.
Have you ever looked at commercial at all, like property managers for commercial space? I mean, I know that goes kind of against your whole thing, right? Because you're residential. I'm just curious.
Again, we feel like that's probably specialized space that isn't necessarily our fit. Yeah, so no, we feel like we've got, a lot of opportunities ahead of us, in terms of what we're doing, with the residential sort of communities. We feel like we've got a special offering in that space and we want to continue to, specialize in that. We don't, we want to be kind of disciplined about not getting too far outside of what we do really, really well and where we're making our investments.
Okay. Just curious about this. This is kind of a smaller, more granular question, but when you're pitching a university, when they say no, what is the most common reason? Is it, we do it internally and we do just fine? Or is it, we're already using another software? Just curious.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think, I think one of the things that we try to help people understand with StarRez is we are so much more than an administrative system. And I think when you're talking to a university and you're helping them understand that, do you need a solution, a platform that offers something that supports recruitment, engagement of people, retention, referrals, long-term alumni? What we offer is so much more than an administrative system, because by helping them pick their room and pick their roommates and have a great experience online, that really drives the recruitment piece. Once they're on campus and they're actually living there, so much of their experience is wrapped around that residential piece. And so if they're doing well in their residential experience, they've got great roommates, they've got great friendships, they're attending their classes, they're doing well academically, they're likely to stay, at the university, they're likely to get better academic results, they're likely to refer their friends, so it really drives that retention piece and that engagement and wellness piece. So I think for us, Steve, once people understand that the ROI is incredibly strong around that, then StarRez makes a lot of sense. I think sometimes, we get caught like everyone, is the right value there? What are we providing? So certainly there are some alternative solutions out there. Many of them are kind of cheaper alternatives that don't necessarily go to the same level of, functionality that we offer, innovation that we offer, security and compliance that we offer. So we're offering, we think, something very different. And of course, there's still some that are doing homegrown solutions, but of course that doesn't scale over time. There's always, it's impossible to keep a homegrown sort of solution on pace. There's still some manual work being done out there, or Excel and things like that. But I think people are really, understanding now this is just such a critical piece of, a platform that they need to invest in to automate their business. I'd say the other trend, Steve, that we've seen lately is, a lot of these residential operations do not have the resourcing and staffing capacity they had a couple of years ago. So they've either experienced the Great Resignation as well, or people that want more flexible work, or people that are looking for different compensation. So they've had a harder time retaining team members, recruiting and hiring. So you need to rely on a solution that you can automate more of that work through. And then your hiring focus can be more around the high touch, personal work that you need around a residential community. You don't want to be doing, stuff that can be well automated by a good system.
For Travis, longer term here, did you sign up for a 2-year ride along or a 3-year? Did they lock you in for some sort of earn out period? How long is Travis going to stick around for this deal?
Look, that's a good question, Steve. I'm glad you hit me with a hard one. Look, I have no fixed timeline on what I'm doing, and I never have. So as long as I'm enjoying it, I feel like I'm, in an environment where I can have a really positive impact on the team and on the community, then I'm, committed to what I'm doing, and I'm 110% in. When we signed up to this, I don't have any particular, necessarily tie-ins. There's some basic things in place, but it's really more about just making sure I'm super committed, that I'm driving great results and outcomes for obviously our investors, for our team, and for our customers. And so because you never know what the future holds, I like to just keep it open-minded about what it looks like, over the next, whatever it is, 5 to 10 years. And as long as I can balance out still being a great dad, fitting in my own hobbies and my own fitness and things, which I've been able to kind of juggle, then I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm committed and I'm all in.
What's one of the biggest things you've learned on taking this cash on? Anything in particular you want to share? Looking back and you go, yes, that was a learning piece for me. I probably could have done that better or this better. Anything in particular you want to share?
Yeah, look, I think the thing I'll share is, now that I see what kind of help and resources you can get especially from, Vista is just such a top-notch firm that's got, really great people in it that just know software businesses so well. It feels like it's not a very fair fight when you're battling a private company, because look, we always felt like we were, pretty well resourced and pretty knowledgeable, and I had, good network of YPOers and everything around me. But I can now see that when you bring this level of, experience and resource to the table, and To your point earlier, even just their ability to be able to spot acquisition opportunities for us to help us execute on that, it puts you in a very different place in terms of competing as a private business against a PE-backed business.
Yeah.
So look, I feel fortunate that we're able to have, I think, the successful run we did as a private family business for 30 years. I think what I've seen is that you can accelerate things pretty dramatically with the right, partner behind you. So I think it's all about just thinking about what is the timing. So, if I could wind back the clock a little bit, maybe we would look at doing this a few years earlier. That's maybe one thought I have is,
Okay.
Did we stick it out too long as a private business, or should we have actually been investing a little heavier on our own, maybe previously? Maybe we should have already done an acquisition. Maybe we shouldn't have waited for this time, because I think we've learned that it's been a great experience for us. So I think it's more just about the timing and sequencing of things that I've learned a lot about. Okay. In terms of personal learning, Steve, I found this incredibly stimulating, and I think for me, in a way, to your point about my own timeline, I found this so reinvigorating because, we've been operating StarRez, in a very similar fashion for the last kind of decade. Now we're operating at this accelerated pace, and I'm learning a lot about acquisitions and integrating businesses and how to think through managing debt and how to make the right investments. So I've personally found it really stimulating for my own development.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Lots of learning pieces for yourself as a CEO throughout this whole process. One thing you mentioned earlier for the listeners, I want to highlight, which I agree with. If you've had a family business for a while, or if you've been an entrepreneur and you've had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, if you are going to take on cash, that means you're going to lose control of the cap table, so to speak. If you're going to do that, I advise paying your family a little bit of, one-time payout. Here you go. Congratulations. Thank you. Now, I wouldn't put all the money towards sales, marketing, and technology. I would reward the family. I know my wife in particular has said that many times. She's like, if we ever take on cash for Riderflex and we lose control, we're going to get a one-time payday of some kind, because I've sacrificed my ass off for these 6, 7 years. And so I think that's important. I think if you're going to give up control, reward your family a little bit, and then put the rest of the money towards, all the right places where it's supposed to go. And I'm glad you did that for your family. We're almost out of time. I want to ask you two kind of outside the lines questions real quick, if you don't mind, if that's okay. I want to hit you with a couple. Lately in the news, all this chatter about some companies making people return to the office again, and this, employees are pushing back on the whole, I don't want to return to the office. So this remote battle continues, remote working continues. What are your thoughts around that, Travis? And what philosophy are you guys following?
Yeah, look, it's obviously still a hot topic at the moment. Look, we feel like hybrid and flexibility is absolutely the way to go forward. So we've maintained our headquarters in Melbourne, our headquarters in Denver, and in fact, we now have another office in Raleigh through one of our acquisitions. And since we have a hub of people there, we want to keep that office in place. Now, I'd like to think of them as probably collaboration hubs more than anything else. So we love the local teams that if someone wants to work out of there full time, they're more than welcome to do that. What we find with the local teams is that we encourage them to get together in those offices 2 to 3 days a week, and or to come together for some celebrations and team events or customer events or whatever it might make sense around those areas. The other thing that we're really trying to do, Steve, is we've got hubs of people in different cities. So we've got, in fact, I was recently in Arizona, and we've got a team of about 6 people based in Phoenix. So we've got a little group together in Toronto. We've got another group in Chicago. So we've got these regional kind of hubs of people, and we're encouraging those groups to come together every month or every quarter, whatever it might be practical, so that they've got some local connectivity with those teams. We are hiring pretty much anywhere now. So We love if we can find people in Melbourne and Denver and those places, but we're definitely hiring outside of that. So we want to find the best people and bring the best team together, versus just being fixed on the office. So we're definitely not pushing that you must be back in the office, X number of days a week or anything like that. My personal experience is highly productive people can be highly productive from anywhere. And if you find people that maybe are not highly productive, I think they can be that way in an office or from home. So I think for us, we're about building a high-performing team, making sure we've got really good instrumentation across the business so people understand what we're trying to achieve, what our progress is. And then we really try to empower our leadership team to make sure that they've got their team, that's performing and being held accountable.
Collaboration hubs or collaboration centers. I like that. I'm going to steal that. I like that. That's good. That's a great way to look at it, because that's really what it is, right? You come together, collaborate on some things, do some meetings. Yeah. But if you're going to have, 10 people with their heads down all day long for 8 hours pounding on their laptops, they can do that from home. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love that. Okay. Last question. I'm curious on this topic. So because you're so heavily involved with universities, I'm wondering what you think about this new AI, the rapid advancement of Chat GPT, and now other things like it that are, blasting the marketplace. Because I thought a lot about that. I thought about, students in college, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, is anybody going to write their own papers anymore? Because I've experienced Chat GPT myself, and I'm kind of wondering, what's that going to do to all of us, to students? How do professors keep students from writing all their papers using this stuff? I don't know. Well, what are your thoughts?
Look, I think it's interesting, Steve, because you're in the recruitment and people space. We think that we had a candidate that the team was interviewing that was even using it this week to help them with an answer to one of our questions. So
Probably.
it's a challenge, it's a challenge when you think about that. I think it's too early for us to all know exactly the real world impact. It's clearly one of the more significant accelerators of change that we're going to see impact society and education and business more than ever. Yep. I do think the good news is that the human element is still a very important aspect, in terms of what we do. And I think a lot of what we need to do as humans is think through problem solving in so many different contextual settings that I think AI, will struggle to, be totally proficient in. So the way I think of it is, like, if you think of it in this context of, say, engineering, I think it can probably help generate a good portion of code, but you'll still need humans that know how to take that and then make it purpose fit and make it actually, deliver and solve the problem, and make sure that, it's thoughtfully integrated in the tech stack. And then you've got, the delivery piece of how people do it. As humans, we love experiences, and, these AI tools don't give us experiences. So, I think the world will just continue to shift around experience-based learning, experience-based, lifestyles and things that we want to enjoy. And yes, we can automate some things with these tools. But I think, there's always the asterisk on how accurate it'll be and how far we can go in applying it. So still early days. I think the next 5 years is going to be very fascinating to see this unfold.
It is, right? It's kind of an interesting time to be alive, because you're right. The next 4 or 5 years is going to be fascinating to watch it. My analogy so far on it is kind of like you said. Let's imagine you build homes for a living. All of a sudden, there was a tool created to put the foundation down for you right away. The concrete and everything is automatically laid. Well, you still got to pick out the right curtains. You still got to pick out the paint. You still got to get creative. You still got to finish off the rest of it, right? It's just nice that now you have a tool that lays the foundation right away. And I think for anybody listening right now, I think Chat GPT can be used for that, right? If you want to use it to base out an email or to get some sort of like, oh, I need a blog. Can you give me a structure to work from? And then I'll tweak it and play with it and get more creative with it. I think that's fine if you use it in the right ways. But I don't think robots are going to replace us all anytime soon, at least not as long as me and you are alive.
No, exactly. No, look, we've had a lot of evolution and innovation in the last, 30 years. And I think this is another big milestone marker. But I think the other thing, Steve, that we haven't seen yet is it seems free at the moment. I don't
Right.
think it's going to remain free. So
No, it won't.
you may get to a point where it's like, well, you can use this AI, or it might be cheaper to hire someone to do it, which is how a lot of technology gets to, right? There's a huge, cost associated with a lot of these. So we haven't seen the other side of this. This is just not going to be a free tool the whole world can enjoy forever.
You're so right. I think there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or some sort of movie way back where like you would go up to this machine and you could ask it anything you wanted to ask it and it would give you the right answer, but you had to have a token. You had to pay it, right? You had to feed it. If you didn't have any, then it wasn't going to help you. So there you go.
And I think that's where we'll see the other side of that. The commercial side of it will come out in the next 12 months pretty quickly.
No doubt. Travis, congratulations, man. I mean, not only are you second generation family, 30 plus years in business, and you've survived taking on cash as well. Congrats, and super huge growth, acquisitions. Congrats, my friend. Really, really congratulations.
Steve, thanks so much. I love the work you do. I love you helping share our stories. And it was a thrill to be able to give you an update on our journey.